We live in times of deep political division. You know it. You know it. You know it. I know it. One of the issues dividing us is guns. Their possession, their control, their use. Their divides are deep in this country right now, even dangerous. Don't let anyone tell you for a moment that this trial is a means of stopping those divides, of discussing gun violence. We're not here to make political statements, to reform the world, to take a stand against extreme speech. This trial is not a cultural moment. It's not even about stopping Alex Jones. I was stunned to hear my adversary's opening statement. The judge told you why we're here. Hearing and damages. Liability has been determined. What can they prove, given what's reasonable? We went 15 minutes into the closing argument and heard a wholesale attack on Alex Jones, and you were asked to do something not related to your mission. Stop. It was 35 minutes in before the word, 35 minutes in before the word damages even arose. And then we'll trust you to give them damages, and their damages is stopping Alex Jones. Let me be bold here and curve them to decide for you, or to ask you to decide for the millions of fools, the millions of deplorables, the millions of MAGA Republicans, what people can and can't watch in this country, because they transformed that hearing and damages. They transformed money into a political weapon in this trial, and we're going to ask you to disarm them. We don't want you to do anything here but follow the law as the court instructs you on. That is your obligation. No more, no less. You'll hear nothing from the judge about stopping Alex Jones. Yep. You all remember, if you're old enough, where you were on December 14th, 2012. I'm aware, maybe I was in a courtroom. Maybe I heard that and I thought, my God, what's become of our world? 20 children, 6 adults slaughtered by Adam Lanza. These are the names of the children killed. Jessica Rebos, did you pause and remember each of them? Olivia Engel, Avio Richard, Jesse Lewis, Grace Audrey McDonald, Noah Posner, Anna Marquez Green, Emily Parker, Charlotte Bacon, Catherine Hubbard, Josephine Gay, Daniel Barton, James Mattioli, Carolyn Pavetti, Allison Wyatt, Dylan Hockley, Madison Sue, Chase Kowalski, Jack Pinzo, Benjamin Wheeler. Those are 20 young lives wiped out for no reason at all on December 14, 2012. Each had parents and families who loved them. Each victim is missed, loved, and mourned, I'm sure, to this very day. But that's not why we're here. The adults killed that day: Victoria Soto, age 27, Lauren Russo, age 30, Dawn Hawksford, 47, Mary Sherlock, 56, Rachel Davino, 29, Anne Marie Murphy, 52. Those are the 6 adults senselessly killed in Sandy Hook that day. We're not here for that. Each of them had families. Each of them, I'm sure, are mourned to this very day. Each of them. The plaintiffs in this case, not all the families and members of those victims chose to be here today. 14 family members representing children and adults, 4 children and 3 adults chose to be here. An FBI agent chose to be here. A parent or parents of Emily Parker are here. A parent or parents of Daniel Barton are here. A parent or parents of Dylan Hockley are here. A parent or parents of Benjamin Wheeler are here. Members of Victoria Soto's family is here. A member of Dawn Hawksford's family is here. A member of Mary Sherlock's family is here. And of course, a retired FBI agent is here. 2 other children's parents brought suits elsewhere on another day. All assert that Alex Jones caused them grave harm. Their lawyers are here to prove that to you. Grave harm doesn't mean stopping Alex Jones. Our suggestion is you stop Alex Jones and do a graver harm to the Republic. Your job is to decide if Mr. Jones is responsible for all they are claiming. In other words, we claim that their claims are exaggerated. And if they can prove to you that he's caused them all the harm they claim, then give them a sum that compensates for them for that. They've suggested your job is to punish Alex Jones, and you won't hear that from the judge. They hate him because he says outrageous things, and the haters want him silenced. Each of you has chosen to be here today to compensate them for their grief, and you're being asked to make an example of Alex. Money is their weapon of choice. Award enough, and you might summon, or you might silence Alex Jones. He was mocked. They're coming, they're coming, they're coming. The plaintiffs and their counsel hope they're here, and it's you. That with money, you'll do what no one else, you'll do what most of us do at home when we hear something we don't like. We turn on the TV set. Listen carefully what will be said about money in this case. Will they themselves ask for a sum that reasonably, the parents, the plaintiffs, will they ask for a sum, or are they going to let their lawyers pick the sum? This isn't a casino. You're not clerks at a grocery store selling quick pick tickets. They have the burden of proof, and they have to prove it. Your job is to do justice. You will learn in this trial that plaintiffs did not file suit here until 2018, even though, as their counsel said, all the damage was done in 2016. Almost 6 years after the shooting, 6 years after Alex Jones told millions of listeners the shooting was a hoax, no one died, the parents were crisis actors. Alex is liable for this. The judge has told you that, and we respect this court's ruling. In the prior proceeding, the court determined Alex was liable. If you don't know why, you must not speculate about why. It is not an issue for you. You're here to determine whether the parents, family members, and an FBI agent are entitled to more than nominal damages. Listen carefully to the evidence. At the end of the case, we'll tell you that they are not, and we'll tell you why the evidence supports that verdict. Alex will testify, and he'll tell you that by the time this lawsuit took place, he'd long since talking about the suit. He was broadcasting 4 hours a day, about 10,000 hours since then, 6 days a week. The plaintiffs will show you the most hurtful videos and articles they could find after years of litigation. You'll hear from employees of Alex's show, InfoWars. No one, not the plaintiffs, not the Alex Jones, no one knows how many videos he produced. In part, that's because there was a culture war going on in 2018. He got deplatformed, Alex will tell you.
Objection, Your Honor.
The archives.
Objection, Your Honor.
Sustained.
The archives, he will tell you, that stored his videos was removed. YouTube, he didn't have access to his own archives. Why these parents? Why not the children of the others who never filed suit in Connecticut or Texas? You will learn that each of the parents and family members here transformed their grief and rage over the death of a loved one into a powerful and effective motive for opposing gun violence and promoting school safety. And who can blame them? Who can blame them? They're members of interest groups, they hold vigils, they testify before Congress and state lawmakers, they've become partisans. They've walked into a divisive debate about guns and the Second Amendment and the extent to which the state should be more aggressive in making us safe from madmen. Do they overstate the harm that Alex caused them because they want to silence him for political reasons? Because he disagrees with their point of view? I would suggest to you that is the case, and we'll argue that at the end.
Objection.
Sustained.
Maybe a sidebar, please.
Just one moment, please.
I think motive and bias, I'm sorry, I apologize. I think motive, interest, and the outcome are never collateral. And I think that we can argue that they're exaggerating their damages claims for ulterior motives. I think that's okay.
Our contention, to be clear, is that the damage claims here are exaggerated because of the idiosyncratic motives of the plaintiffs, transforming their griefs into political weapons. You'll have to decide whether that's true. But here's what you learned. In 2016, Alex Jones became a household name again when a presidential candidate used him to berate her opponent and talked about Sandy Hook, Hillary Clinton. She never got sued. Alex.
Objection, Your Honor.
Sustained.
Can we stop this, please?
Sustained. Move on, Attorney Pattis, please.
How many times did you notice how many times I objected to telling you, letting them tell their story?
All right, Attorney Pattis, that is improper, and either finish your opening or be seated.
In 2017, Alex was interviewed by Megyn Kelly on NBC. He worried it'd be a hit piece. He sat for the interview. It was a hit piece. Megyn Kelly didn't get sued. Alex got sued.
Objection,
Sustained.
Your Honor.
Attorney Pattis, one more time, and I will ask you to be seated.
People wrote these folks hate mail, you'll read. People stalked them. People threatened them. People appeared at some of their homes. Each slight, some of them will tell you, was as though a scab had been torn from a wound that will never really heal. They blame Alex for all of it, all of it. You've heard some of the things that Alex uses to spread fear. When Alex testifies, he'll tell you, he had on his show a man named James Tracy. He's a co-conspirator with Alex, as they'll say, a professor who questioned it. James Fetcher, who wrote a book, No One Died at Sandy Hook, another co-conspirator that Alex is responsible for. You already heard about Wolfgang Holbein, another co-conspirator that Alex is responsible for. Stephen Piesnik, a man with shade who claimed ties to the intelligence community, another conspirator that Alex is responsible for. And all the unnamed and unknown persons that they will tell you about but won't be able to identify. At the center of this web of lies and deceit sits Alex Jones, the bagman for conspiracy theory, poster child for the battle for the truth. Meanwhile, Alex will tell you the internet remains awash with folks who think the CIA killed Kennedy, 9/11 was an insight job, and COVID was a pretext for government control of our lives. At the end of the case, you'll be asked to evaluate the evidence and ask what exactly they've proven. That it hurts to lose a loved one. The world is filled with unhinged people. We're becoming a failed state. Alex is bold, loud, brazen, often offensive, and a liar. We're keeping score on our side how many times they use the word lie. It's 8 so far. Liar, liar, pants on fire. They can't shout enough. We could respond by saying, and I ask you to consider this each time you hear the words, 6 and stones may break my bones, but words will never hurt you. When did political debate become toxic? What will they prove and how? You will see videos of Alex ranting, raising questions, poking holes at things we all accept. You'll see news stories. You'll hear and have heard about his reach. He spreads fear. Does Alex go out and create his viewers, or is he the canary in the coal mine, responding to something you feel in the world, that something's not right? Do they get to turn him off for you? Is this about stopping Alex Jones, or is this about their proving their damages? You'll be asked to conclude that because he caused the anonymous and almost always unnamed person to harass the plaintiffs, they need millions and millions, maybe tens of millions of dollars. Seriously? Who's Alex Jones? He's a mid-40s Dennis the Menace. Remember the cartoon character? The kid who was always in trouble doing more things than he could? That was Alex. Now he's in his mid-40s. He's got a television station. Some people find him entertaining. Some people find him informative. Most of us just ignore him. He moved from Dallas, Texas to Austin, Texas as a young man and became a cable TV phenom. Soon he was broadcast coast to coast, questioning what we all know to be true about the government's killing of 80 folks at the Branch Davidian compound in Waco in 1993. What happened at Ruby Ridge when government agents killed Randy Weaver's wife and child in 1992. He raised questions. Did Timothy McVeigh act alone, or did he even cause the devastating bombing at the Murrah Building in 1995 in Oklahoma City? It killed many children, wiping out a daycare center. He called the bombing of the World Trade Center before Osama bin Laden bombed in 2001. And he'll say, What was the government not seeing that I could see from a small radio studio in Austin? And he'll tell you, if he's permitted to, about the Trilateral Commission, about world government, about Chinese plans to take over the world. He'll tell you about globalists. He'll tell you that he thinks there are big money, big tech people seeking to exert control over how we live our daily lives. Long before you were reading news stories about artificial intelligence and big tech, Alex was screaming about it. He's an angry populist warning you about the loss of significance in your own life. Ever heard of Davos or the World Economic Forum? He'll tell you about that. Or Klaus Schwab. He's just written another book, The Great Reset and the War for the World. Bestseller on Amazon.
Objection, Your Honor.
He'll tell you this.
Overruled.
The answer to 1984, Orwell's classic, he tells you, is in 1776. It's a serious message. It's not a lie. We live in deeply divided times, and plenty of people think 1776 is the answer to the 1984 we are becoming. He's also the guy who worries that the chemicals in our water might be turning frogs gay, that weather balloons are secret government weapons, that trails from airplanes are seeded with toxins that are destroying and controlling us, that Hillary abuses children, that pedophiles run the government, and that people actually eat babies to remain forever young. Which of these messages do we take serious enough to regard him as a threat we should shut off, and at what point do we regard him as the crank on the village green, the person we can walk away from if we choose to? He's an ordinary populist who fears the rights of ordinary Americans will be swallowed whole by big business global billionaires. He thinks we are on the cusp of slavery, I'll tell you. That to be enslaved, we must first disarm the people. The Second Amendment must be dismantled. You saw yourself the controversy over the U.S. Supreme Court's decision just the other day. He fears the government will seize any pretext to disarm us. And so on 12/14/2012, he saw a plot, and he did the unthinkable to a grieving parent. He questioned the pain of confinement. And for this, he must be silenced. That's what this case comes down to. We silence and historically have silenced the unusual, seer, madmen who tell us things too uncomfortable to bear. If you try to silence Alex Jones in this case, you'll be asking Big Oil to silence Greta Thunberg and her concerns about climate change. Don't fall for the political narrative here.
I object to the continuing suggestion that...
Sustained.
Thank you.
Continue, Attorney Pattis.
Alex will testify. He would tell you that he's apologized. He would tell you that he's grown weary of the expense and time this litigation has consumed. You'll see a video of him erupting on air. So frustrated he's beside himself. I killed the children. I killed them. I went into the school. Bam, 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 bam. Shot each one of them. Yep, that's right. When I go out on the street, people forget Adam Lanza was the killer. They think it's me. It made a scapegoat of Alex Jones, a whipping boy. We will ask you for justice here and put an end to our 10-year preoccupation with Sandy Hook. No one on my side of the aisle will minimize for a moment what these people lost. It is unthinkable. But what you stand to lose with a verdict that silences Alex Jones is unthinkable as well. It's a marketplace deprived of a voice you should have the choice to hear. You will make the world a better place by returning a modest verdict here. A verdict that acknowledges the distress that parents felt, but a verdict that also states an inconvenient truth. All that these parents have suffered does not transform them into oracles that let them determine what you should and should not be able to hear, do, and say. Money is their weapon. Follow the law, we will ask you. Disarm them. First they came for Alex Jones. Who's next?
As you will recall from my preliminary instructions, opening statements are not proof. They're not evidence. They are simply statements of what each party hopes to prove. Also, you saw that Attorney Maddie objected during the opening statement. A lawyer has the right and sometimes the obligation to object, and you should not hold it against Attorney Maddie or Attorney Pattis when he objects if the lawyer makes objections, regardless of whether the court sustains or overrules the objection. So we are going to take a 10-minute recess. I'm going to excuse the jury first, Mr. Ferraro, and I am going to stay on the record to deal with some housekeeping issues. All right? During this recess,